Hello. How are you guys? Happy Thursday. I can't believe it's Thursday already. Hey, Megan. Hey, Sydney. How's it going? I was almost a little late. Can you tell? I decided at the last second to make these into shorts. Hey, late night. Hey, Tanya. How's it going? Good to see you all. So we're making all my unfinished objects that are sitting there staring at me from over there in my bins. I cut these out with you guys like last fall and never got around to sewing them because sewing 2 of each on stream was a little ambitious. So, hey Barbara. So now it is spring and summer-ish weather, and so I chopped the sleeves and the legs off of both. So now I have a summer set, which is great. Oh, nice, Megan. Yeah, just chip away at it. You don't have to start and finish the whole thing at once, right? So, I haven't pre-serged anything, and I figure we'll probably do a few French seams as well. But I'm going to do some serging. Hi, Eva, since I hardly ever do that. So, even the fly. Oh, look at this thing. This was in my husband's father's camera case, and look, it blows air and you can brush things. It's so cool. I asked if I could have it. It's awesome in my little serger, and I can like squirt air. Isn't it hilarious? I had to show you guys that. I knew you'd appreciate it. It's like the precursor to compressed air. I am the compressor, you know? Oh, Megan, I forgot to do that. I went and checked and it wasn't ready yet. Dang it. I hope there's still some good stuff. She always has some great fabric, you know? So what did you get? What are you going to make? Do you have plans for whatever you got? I crack you up? What do you mean? That thing's hilarious and awesome. I was already playing with it on my serger. I was like, oh, this is going to be so fun. You have one of those, Barbara? Where'd you get it? This was to clean his camera, apparently. I don't know if it's old or new or whatever, so. I will be doing piping without the piping inside. So I'm just going to do the flat binding, like, without it. So I have sewn piping, and I did it on the closet case floor proof. So if you need a little bit of, you know, encouragement to sew piping, that video has it probably. I don't sew a ton of piping, but I don't find it that hard. It's if you're doing it on upholstery on a couch, it's a whole other ball game. I worked in an upholsterer shop and I never sewed it there, so couldn't help you much there. So let's see. I am making the closet case patterns Carolyn pajama set, and look at, they already have a short sleeve and short version, and so I didn't cut that one out. So I have a feeling the circumference of the legs will be a little bit tapered from what you would usually use for shorts, but that's okay with me, you know, like that'll work. Oh, okay, Barbara. Oh, you're gonna make the hinterland with the top and some fabric. Nice. That sounds like a good plan. So I will warn you, if you're coming for the top, that my top is not going to look like theirs. I did use their shirt, but I drafted it without a collar, and I did kind of a baseball jersey facing with piping around it. I have sewn this, and it's actually one of my most popular videos for some reason. So you can find me sewing this traditional style shirt, actually this one right here. So anywho, I will be doing this on Saturday. I don't know if I did the piping. Oh, I did do the piping. Yeah, pretty sure. So anyway, oh, here's a better picture, or another picture. There we go. All right. So I do need to serge. I'm going to serge a little bit today. So I didn't really set up the camera for the serger. So let's just see how far away it is. I need it to do, I'm going to do the pocket facing, and I think I'll do the fly, and then I'll do French seams other places. So let's see how the camera looks for I'm gonna use the iron camera and kind of move it over here. Whoop. There we go. I just stand here and do this. So I'm just going to do the bottom angle. Oh, I didn't thread my, oh man. Great. My favorite. I didn't thread my needles yet. My serger came with all these really cool tools, and I don't use any of them. It's not too hard. There we go. Put all my threads under there. This is a really thick pad of fabric. That looks pretty good. I don't really like starting with these little narrow points. It's kind of tricky, so I'm gonna lift my presser foot up, push it up against my blade. Kind of looking at my tension to see if I need to adjust it. Alright, so I always clip this part right here. There's a dot on the pattern right there, and I clip it all the way to it right off the bat. And it looks like when I rotary knife this, I accidentally cut into that, so don't worry about that. I don't remember, it's been months. Kind of walk it around a little bit. And then I'm going to pull this out of the way like this. And see, I'm watching the blade, not where the needle is, but where the blade is, and I'm going to pull this away like this. Now, I won't get all the way down into that clip, but that's okay. All this is going to get covered up. So it's okay. It's enough. There's one. Oh my gosh, your dog, it chewed through your serger cord. Oh my gosh. I have to be careful. My water glass is sitting like right here. So to the right of my machine. And yesterday when I set my jammy top up here that I was showing you guys, the sleeve was sitting in the water cup. My shirt was like half soaked through. All right, so this one's always trickier. And so, like, again, I have this accidental snip in there. So I'm just going to start with my serger foot on the fold here, but I'm not going to serge that. I'm just going to get as close to it as possible. And if I serge that, if I sew it, it's fine. If I don't cut it, it's fine. It's great, you know. Walk it around the curve. I always do this so that my garment doesn't swing around and go right into the blade, because that's happened to me many times. All right, so this is all I'm going to serge today. I think. Wow, what's up with your dog liking cords? Hi, Malin. Hi, Claire. Wow. That's so interesting. And scary. I'm glad your dog didn't get hurt. Both from like the electricity and eating cords. That's so, I wonder what it is about him that's so satisfying, you know? It's like that tricky thing, right? You're like, okay, maybe I should give my dog something that is kind of like it so that that's what they chew on. But then you're like, will it encourage them to chew on all the other cords, you know? Maybe if you can find something that's dog flavor appeal. Gosh. Are you able to easily find them? Just snipping all my threads. You know, I'm still getting used to these. They're really sharp, and so I always feel like I'm going to cut into my stuff. Let's see here. So here's my pocket. I'm just going to set that aside. I think I'm just going to do the fly right off the bat because there's no zipper or anything in it. It's actually kind of fun. Hopefully I remember how to do it. Where is it? All right, so we kind of start off the same way we do the jeans. Put this together, right sides together. Hopefully my notch is up there. It is. You need this little notch right here. It's really helpful because that's the center front. And your front doesn't open. It's a fake fly. So. Oh, Barbara, yeah, she has the like separation anxiety. My husband, when I met him, he had a dog like that, and she went everywhere with him. And now if I saw that, I'd be really stressed out by someone that has to have that kind of dog. So I'm really glad. What is this right here on me? Is that me? It is me. I'm really glad that I know that it's okay on the other end, you know, like on the dog's end, because it was better for her to be in his car or near him. And what he would do at work, he worked at Yakima, and he would leave the back door open of his car, and then she would just lay in the back seat, and there was food and water there, and the door would be fully open of his car, you know, and we lived somewhere really cold too, so it didn't really matter as far as like heat goes. And people just knew that that was Sam. That's where she hung out. Oh, Sydney. What a good sewist you are. Is that your reward? I was just talking to my friend Maria about that. My machine's not even on. Wow. All right. I'm going to put it to my basting stitch first. So you baste from this notch to where that dot was down there. So just line up where that slit is. You need to make sure you get both sides of the slit. They have you usually sew this first and then do the slit. And I know I do that a little different. And it's just because I find it a lot easier to have it slit before I serge. So then back stitch and then sew the rest of your seam. I'm hoping this is a 5/8 inch seam. I really should write that down on the pattern when I cut it out, you know? Okay, let's see. I think all you do now is just stitch this down. So now you would snip it by their instructions, and you would snip it all the way because it needs to pivot, right? And then we're just gonna stitch that curve down. But if you want I'm gonna top stitch actually the top stitch the center front. Wait, is that what I'm gonna do? Oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna open it up. Forgive me while I remember. Open this up. Like this. And now, so you're going to open up the fly, but keep this lower section of the rise pressed to the left front. So this way. And we're going to edge stitch on the right side of the seam right here. Here's the seam, pressed it open. See that? I'm going to stitch on the side. Just going to edge stitch. Make sure you're still at your regular stitch length. I feel a little ridge there. It's kind of funny. And so remember, I get down to this rise, I keep both seams pressed this way. Such a great practice pair of pants for before you do a zipper fly, you know. It is. Thank you, late night. They just need a hem, Sydney, still. Ooh, a flannel Cali that needs, ooh, that'll be nice. But now you can wait till like August to do that. Right? Unless it's cool where you live. All right, now I'm gonna do the curved seam. This like top stitch this right here, right? Wait, what am I doing wrong here? Do I push this back and then do it? Wait, let me look at the directions. I don't want to steer you wrong. I don't want to steer you wrong, right? Okay. I may not have supposed to top stitch that. Yeah, so you do that. Okay, yeah. Is this go like this, then this? Yeah. And then press the flag to the right. Flip the pants over from the right side. So 2 rows of top stitching. Oh, okay. You just don't have to do the top stitching. That's all. So you don't really need to do that top stitching. All right, so push that and we're gonna top stitch it down. Hopefully that top stitching doesn't. I've sewn these so many times, I still am like, what affects what, you know? Around that curve. Like that, got the curve down. And then I think you take out this basting stitch, right? You can see it, it's right there. Take out this basting stitch. Let's see if my top stitch is okay. I feel like it is. I feel like it just edge stitches one side. That's how you do the denim one, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, that worked. I want to get rid of this. I really want to get rid of that thread. Let's see, that basting thread. I can feel it in there. Look. See, it's in there. Where can I find it to snip it? I can't really grab it. Oh well. We'll just pull as much of it as we can. Clip it. There we go. So there's our fly. Fake fly. Just like that. Is that a little dark for you guys? I know Megan will say no. I'm gonna brighten it up just a tiny bit. I feel like I'm really starting to get the hang of a few of the video editing and Illustrator, and it feels so good to be kind of getting over that hump of the learning curve. I still have like, I know like 1% of it, but it's just that initial 1%, you know? So, oh, there you go, Sydney. That's awesome, Barbara. Your longest standing UFO is to pad up my dress form by an extra inch. Oh, yeah, that's not good job, Beverly. That's awesome. Yeah, I know. I did that before in a dress form. I actually had a dress form, a traditional wolf form, and it had, what had happened? Something had happened to it. I've had a bunch of dress forms or workplaces with dress forms, and I repaired it. I actually took off the muslin cover that's on there, and they must steam that on there and stuff, and I replaced it, and it turned out so good before we had phones and cameras all the time, right? So I don't have any pictures, but I remember going, oof, this could go terribly wrong, and it ended up was not being so bad. All right, so now we have our front, so let's do our pockets. I didn't have enough fabric to make the pocket bags. I can tell because I'm using Spoonflower Poplin for these. I think I got 2 yards of fabric, and then I had to, is that how that goes? Yeah. I had to use some of my other fabric in my stash for the pockets. It was just enough. You lose a little bit of the width of fabric when you print, and the poplin is already a 44-inch wide fabric, and so it gets to like down to like 42, which is pretty narrow when you're talking pants. And it's good I had a non-directional print, so I could put probably one upside down. This might be directional, I don't know. I had to recut my cuffs since I made shorts today, and I cut those on the other grain line, so they'll probably be noticeable to you and I, but not when I'm wearing them. So I just top stitch this down. Yeah, so. Yeah, Sydney, do that. If you have a serger and you can, yeah, just serge the edge, make it nice, and like make sure the tension's really good on it. Like don't do it too loose so that there's thread hanging off the edge, and don't do it too tight. But it can be, like, if you have to, like, if your serger wants to look nicer on the tighter side, like slightly tighter side, go that way, because you're trying to draw in that circle anyway. It's going to be I'm not kidding, it'll be a piece of cake. Because if you just have to turn it once and you're only turning it like this really tiny amount like that, the width of your serging, it'll just do it itself. Yeah, it's cotton poplin. This is the, I use their poplin a lot. I'm kind of stuck on it. I like the printing quality and I like how tightly woven it is. But it's really great for the pants. I really like the crispness of it. I'm just going to do a French seam here at the bottom. Does that sound funny? How often do I ask you guys that? Oh, I forgot to check on why the commands aren't working. Yeah, and I tagged this fabric designer on Spoonflower. I went back and looked her up. Sarah True is her name. And then the moths is Jada Fitch. You guys have seen my moth jammies. Let's iron these really quick. Let's draw this out a little bit. Yeah, Sydney, it'll be fine. Let's see here. Is this where this camera goes? Like this, right? It's backwards, so I get a little confused every time I'm adjusting this one. There we go. This is my only camera where you guys see it upside down to me. I like the insides of my pockets to be French seamed because they like sit flatter. I love how clean it looks. There's something about that I just actually really enjoy. You can just serge that edge. You don't have to do all this. I could have probably attached them to the pants, huh? Nice, Sydney. I'm getting them done. All right, so let's see. Here is. All right, so this one's gonna go. Oh, I need to top stitch the bottom. You really don't even need to. You could just leave it raw like that. It would stay just fine because these two sides get anchored anyway, you know. We'll just continue to do it. Let me turn this corner a little nicer. Let's just do this. Stick my scissors in there. Did I just like go on that at an angle? What the heck? That's what I think, Barbara. Yeah. I don't iron these, you know, and I don't have to iron my others at all. My floral, no, that one doesn't need to be ironed. Yeah, the Carolyn pajama top I made, that's chambray with the floral trim, that one needs ironing. And that chambray is pretty good. I just feel like some of the details, and maybe it's the interfacing I used. And I'm not going to do that. If it were a much bigger shirt on me, I wouldn't really need to. But because the wrinkles kind of drawn in to make it kind of, you know, less drapey, I do. So this one goes here. See how close I cut this fabric? I'm inside the printing limit of it. This one, just kind of opening my pocket up and laying it on there, right sides together. I'm probably doing this in such a weird order compared to the instructions. I'm going to trim this down. Whoa. I'm not known for cutting fabric very well. I think at one point I could have won an award for how good I cut patterns out and paper. But cutting with scissors, never my strong suit with fabric. I think I'd like to sew that Sunday V-neck again and do a better job of the sewing the V. I feel like I kind of did you guys bad on that. I don't even want to go back and look at the video to see if I'm right. You know? I always do so I can see a little bit of my print so then I know it'll stay in there. This fabric is pre-washed and I don't think I ironed it. That's one of the tricks I do for keeping things easier to deal with wrinkles and ironing, because that way I can kind of work around problem areas when I cut it out. But also then I can see, like it won't like draw up in size, you know? Ironing is so satisfying, isn't it? Oh, tapered tailors all. Do I have one here? I might have one in a package I can show you. That's a seam ripper. Yeah, so there's a, make sure it has the word tapered at the front of it because it'll be more blunt. The other one is more like a stiletto. So it's much sharper, and when you go to use it, it'll just poke right through your project and it won't really grab it. Mine's, I know it doesn't look blunter, but it is compared to that thing. That thing is really, really sharp. So if you wanted something to poke holes in, you can use that, but this one works for that as well. Oh, really? Okay, Beverly. Maybe I'll look back on it and feel better about it. But I was thinking I would make one with my serger, you know. I'm gonna top stitch this or understitch. What do you think? Understitch or top stitch? I think I'll just go for a top stitch. Top stitching always helps prevent wrinkles. And they are jammies, you know, so I'm not ironing these. All right, so we have our pockets done. We have our fronts done, really. The backs don't really need anything. I'm gonna stitch them at the sides and at the top. Then we can treat it all as one. Such a good lesson, like especially if you're kind of new to sewing, you know, sometimes your edges all don't line up. See how mine aren't lining up like that? But that's okay. It's more important that all of this lay nice and flat and let it go where it wants to go, because it's a 5/8 inch seam allowance, right? So you know, if you're really trying to eke out every 1/8 of an inch, then just pay attention to where you might be losing it and decrease your seam allowance. But honestly, you know, this is, you know, we can make this a nice smooth line when we go to sew it. And then this lays nice and flat, you know. So we've got our big pocket. I love pockets and jammies. Oops, sorry, late night. I already did the top stitch. Oh, really, Allison? So, yeah. Ooh. Do you want a lesson on how to understitch? Because I can show you that on something else maybe. I'm trying to think, is there any other spots on this? I just did the top stitch because that way it won't wrinkle up. Because understitching, you can still get a little bit, you know, like the edge isn't like firm, you know. It's not all together. It's only stitched on this side. Because you would press all of your seam allowances towards the inside of your pocket and then stitch, you know, open it up. This would be open flat like this. Press all your seam allowances towards the pocket bag and then you stitch all those seam allowances through on the pocket bag only. So... all right, so now I'm going to stitch this closed as well, the fly. Here we go. There's our fronts. They look big. Here's our backs. So let's do the center back seam, and we will do a French seam. So 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to trim it down a little bit since I was a little bit, didn't have them lined up perfectly. Yeah, you guys see that Hey June Handmade came out with some new overalls today that you can also make a jumpsuit out of. Yeah, I leave out the top layer, Allison, exactly. The outer. Yeah. Hi, Rochelle. How's it going? Yeah, sorry, that wasn't a great, it wasn't a great tutorial, but I will do one for you. What am I looking for? Iron. I'm just gonna press my seam to one side. When you do French seams, you can also press the seam open. You don't have to press it to one side like I always do. I just find that easier. All you're trying to do is get it to do this right here much easier. It just helps it, that's all. Yeah, I think those are pretty cute, Eva, don't you? I like the style she did. Ooh. I just ran out of bobbin. That was a weird way to do it. Oh yeah, okay. I better have a bobbin. I may not because I've been using so many different colors. Well, yeah, I don't. I can use white. I've been using so many different colors that I'm not like winding the color that I use the most. I'm gonna get this set up so I don't run out for the next one. Now that you guys have seen my studio tour, you know exactly like where I'm going, you know, when I get up and walk. You guys gave me a hard time about my messy studio. The floor looks just like that again already. Oof. I don't like hand sewing either. I need to get caught up on my mini quilt blocks because I'm not going to fail the charge. You know? All right. Where did I lose that? Let's pull that out. I have to close that little drawer, otherwise it makes a lot of noise when I sew. Why does this sound weird? I think the needle's too big. It looks real. The sewing looks really good. I don't know why it sounds like it sounds like it's getting hung up. Right, Eva. I think I'm going to top stitch the center back seam. Like I said, like the more stitching you do, the less it can wrinkle in those areas. Not that the rise will, but it does kind of make it nice and flat. And I love top stitching. All right. So let's put the front to the back now. And we're going to do a French seam. Having a little bit of a moment there. I have cuffs at the bottom so that we'll do those at the very, like all in one, and then they'll have the piping finish. I'm going to do it from the top just because I trimmed the bottoms off. So I wanted to give you guys a little lesson though on how I cut these off. Just kind of a grain line thing. Eva. That's hilarious. I've done that with the dog. In fact, on the bathroom handle the other day, there was this really long thread. I was like, yep, that's mine. So these were pants. And I wanted to cut them straight off, and so it's a little bit hard to figure out where that line's going to be. I tried on a pair of jammy bottoms, figured out how long I wanted the inseam to finish, and I cut the pants off at that point there, and then I figured out how much I needed to cut off to accommodate the cuff. But to figure out how to get a straight line across, I folded the pants matching the hem on top of itself like this, and then I really made sure the whole pant was nice and flat, and I got this very straight, you know, right on that cut line there. And then what'll happen is you'll see the rise of your pants sticking out from there, and that's fine, that's okay. But then you'll know that this is your perpendicular line that you would cut on. And I even made it one step easier where, since I have that rhino mat with the grid underneath, I lined this fold edge up along the grid of my rhino mat, and then I cut along another line like that. And that's how you're going to find, you know, say you want to shorten your pants and you've already cut out the fabric and you don't have the pattern pieces handy. That's one way to do it. So the length grain is always perpendicular to the hem, and the hem is how you can get it straight across or parallel to that point. So, oh, Malin, that's really cool. Will you email it to me? Maybe we could do that for Bra August. That could be a good sew along. Ooh, very exciting. Okay, let me see here. I want to start from the top though, just in case I got like my inseam off a little from one to the other. I know I didn't change the waist line, right? So I'm gonna start from here and go down. Otherwise, if I start from there to go down and I start from air to go up, and one needs to be trimmed, I'd be trimming them off weirdly from each other, you know? I always get it going and then I kind of line it up. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is the cuff edge. What the heck? How did I get that in there? Don't do that. I saw the notches in there that I just put in this morning. Let's see. What the heck? Whew. There we go. That's so funny. Sometimes when you're trying to keep everything under the camera, you get lost in the sauce, you know? Yeah, tell us what the pattern is. Wrong sides together. Match up the sides. all the threads to the seam allowance. Yeah, you can see I got it like almost a 1/4 of an inch off there. I wonder if it's the same. I mean, it should be the same, but you know, you never know, right? Hi, Karen, how's it going? I think I will do the inseam as well. Now, if you're doing the pants, you need to ease between the notches at the knee. Trim all these down a little bit. I love this poplin. It doesn't like fray. It's pretty stout as far as like it's tightly woven enough that you need a sharp needle for sure. This is definitely the fabric that gave me the most trouble using in my binding machine, and the one that I sewed myself the worst using, you know. But all in all, it's like when you cut this stuff, it stays accurate when you go to sew it. If you sew it and cut it accurately, it's just like, it's guaranteed. It's just really nice. I really love sewing on it. It doesn't relax like quilting cotton does. And I would say that a lot about some of the Spoonflower fabrics, because what their printing style is going to stabilize the fabric anyway. It's not heavy. It doesn't make it too much heavier or anything in a bad way. It's just that, you know, it's the ink is sitting on the surface. You know, it's a little different. So it does kind of stabilize it. And they've come a long way with their print quality. Those who know. So much easier to do this with the rotary knife on a table or mat, you know. All right, so let's press these. My Fit Underwear by Apostrophe Patterns. Hey, Patty, how's it going? This is the Poplin by Spoonflower. Yeah. Did you ask that and I didn't answer? Yeah, it's the Poplin by Spoonflower. I used it a lot just because it worked really good for the print quality, and it was crisp enough and stable enough for the bag making. But when I would do, later on, I opted for their twill. I found the twill to be even better because it had more body. It came wider. So even though it was like $27 a yard, per inch, it didn't cost, I think it cost almost the same as the Poplin. So just because the Poplin is cheaper per yard, you get so much more usable space on the twill. And the print quality is really great. It has a really great texture, and it's lightweight. I love the linen cotton canvas, but it's very heavy. It's not boardy. It's just very textured. But when I print one of our yarn prints on that linen cotton canvas, it looks so good because it actually looks more like knitting because it has that linen cotton canvas texture. It's just that when we started adding binding and webbing and vinyl to seams, it got a little thick for sewing. We did it, but the twill is better. It was better for us. I would use the twill like if you wanted to print yourself some non-stretch pants. That twill, it would be great. It's got a lot of drape to it. You could do the linen cotton canvas too. It would be a little bit more fall, whereas the twill would be more summer. And the Poplin would be more summer maybe, and the twill would be more spring fall, and then the linen cotton canvas more like winter. That's how I would classify it. Just depends on what you're using it for. I definitely, now that I say that, I would love to make a printed pair of Morgans from Spoonflower. That would be so fun. We should totally do that. What could I do? I should make some birthday pants. Then I could say I'm wearing my birthday suit. I'd never get it in time though, they're so busy. That would be so fun. Alright, so, ooh, I did not iron that well, did I? Look at that. Started off better. When you get to these pocket pieces, flatten out your pocket and make sure you're getting all that so that you can make sure you're encasing all the stitching you've done. Just flatten it out like that. You know, make sure it's sitting the way it's gonna sit forever. When you're doing the French seams or any seam, you know, so. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, the poplin, it feels like it definitely, the ink will drag against my binding machine. It makes it a little harder to pull it through the binding attachment. But it stays so accurate when you're sewing it. It's also very unforgiving. When you take something out, the needle holes are obvious. Whereas in quilting cotton, you can kind of fluff it back up. Whoa, that's a very deep notch there. Quilting cotton in general, you can fluff it, you know, like you can kind of get rid of your needle holes. Whereas the poplin, there's some you're probably gonna have to recut out. And you can get Kona quilting cotton at Spoonflower, and it's still a little more forgiving for needle holes, but because of the ink, it's less forgiving than, say, regular Kona cotton printed by the supplier. There's your little Spoonflower primer. Okay, so now we have our shorts together. What do you guys want, cuffs or waistband next? And I'm gonna start ironing my the stuff. I'm just gonna iron this wrong sides together. My fake piping. I pre-washed this as well. That is one thing I'm never very good at, but I did for this, and I'm really glad I did. Because if you don't pre-wash the binding, you know, it's shrinking this way across it, and then if your garment, so this is shrinking this way and your garment's shrinking this way and this way, right? So it can do some weird things where the binding stays bigger than the garment and it kind of flares a little. If you put piping in it, you probably won't notice that. It's not as crucial. But I find this when I'm doing, say I decide, ooh, I'm gonna do a binding hem. The binding hem will draw in anyway because it's bias and because it'll shrink. So I need to pre-wash it. I'm better about that now. I don't know how much I need to do, but I'm gonna do a lot because I need it for my shirt on Saturday. My deal. Waistband? All right. I'm trying to decide, do I do the clean finish or a serged waistband? Because you get a separate waistband piece, it doesn't lend itself to showing you guys how to serge your elastic onto the waistband. I mean, I could serge the casing onto the waistband. That's different. We'll do the clean finish. It looks really nice. And it feels nice against the skin. Alright, that's all I'm going to do for now. Just in case I don't need all this for the shirt. I bet I do. I bet I need more. Alright, so just gonna roll this back up. Actually, this is the easiest way to roll up binding. Do this. And if it's not pre-folded like this, it's like this open stuff that I have underneath there. Because you have it on the table, as you roll it, it'll stay flush on the top. I rolled so much binding that we would like hand cut and then hand sew together when we would do small runs of it for like limited edition things. And I tried so many methods of doing it, and then this just like, I don't know, my hands just did this one day, and then I couldn't figure out how I did it like for a long time again, and then I figured it out. I'm like, okay, that's it. You gotta keep it on the table, and then it stays flush. Doesn't matter for this because I'm like, you know, it's folded already, but we'll leave that there. Waistband. Those are cuffs. Here we go. All right, so I have my elastic, and I have a feeling the waistband's much wider. Let's see. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna trim down my waistband casing because I'm using 1-inch elastic because this is what I have. I'm gonna leave a little room to top stitch that edge right there because it looks really nice. And then I'm gonna trim off a 1/2 inch or even 3/8 if I use the 5/8 inch seam allowance. I always use, hi Jan, I always use 1 3/8 just because it's just what I use for so long that I just stick with it unless it's like binding to a neckline. I would make it 1 inch wide. And the neck and the binding goes to the inside of the garment, not like straddling the edge. But if it's going fully on the inside of the neck, then I would do 1 inch. But binding that you just see me do like all the time, that's 1 3/8 inch wide. And then on a quilt, that's obviously different. So, yeah, right, Patty. Yeah, I know, the binding thing. It's a lot of work. Let's see if I can see any notches on. Why is this waistband the same front and back? Pretty sure this isn't the same front and back. Is it? Oh, it kind of is. Okay. All right, so I'm going to cut off, what did I decide? I'm going to cut off 3/8 of an inch, right? So here's my 1 inch, 5/8. I'm going to cut off 3/8 of an inch, but I'm going to cut off all of it on one side and just do 3/4. And I'm going to do it with a rotary knife. Let me get stuff I need. It's just a lot faster and more accurate, and the waistband can be kind of a fussy area, especially if you're dealing with elastic, so you might as well just set yourself up to succeed, you know. All right. And then I'm going to sew the sides. Right sides together. And then what side did I cut the notch off on? So I definitely want to put my center notches back. I'm going to do a little like angle. We have enough seam allowance that we might as well. It's so much easier to see when you clip a corner off when you have the waistband all scrunched up front with the elastic. That way you can see the center really easily. Little notches are really easy to lose. So you can do this a few different ways. pretty sure they have you do this so that you insert the elastic when you're done. If that's the case, I would fully recommend taking your seam allowances on these sides and stitching them down. Trim them down and then stitch them down. That way when you go to press your or push your elastic through the casing, it doesn't get hung up on the side seam as much. If you want to do it, you know, on either side of the seam and press your seam open like this. Why can't I do that now? That'd be good. Or you can do it to one side. If you do it to one side, you may get a little bump if you're going against it this way, you know, because when it's like this, when it's folded like this, and you're trying to push your elastic through that hole, that's what it sees, right? It sees 4 layers to press up against, you know? So that's why I say flatten this out as much as possible. I don't know about you guys, but I've been so frustrated by this in the past. No one's going to see this stitching. It's on your waistband, and your waistband's going to be scrunched up. So I just try and get it as flat as possible. What can I say? I like getting presents from my past self. So just, yeah, flatten that all out. Now it's like one. All right, so you could put the elastic in. You could sew your elastic in a circle, and I always lay it flat like this. I don't do it right sides together and then have a seam that's poking out like that. I usually overlap it like this and stitch it a few times. And just remember, like, if you're scared, if you're like, oh, I'm scared, then pull on your elastic, that seam right there, and make sure it's not going to pop, because that's what's going to happen when you're wearing it, right? So don't be scared, because that's what's going to happen, and you have to put it to the test. So you can use a few different ways. You can press this in half, put your elastic in there that's sewn in the circle like this, and then put your waistband right sides together to your pants, sew it, and then just press the seam down. And you'd probably want to serge this edge or zigzag it before you do all that. Right, Barbara? I know. It took me years to figure out to just do that, you know? And also to, like, sew elastic flat in a circle. So I'm pretty sure the way they have you do it in the instructions, though, is that you sew this one side to the waist, and then you come around and you turn it and top stitch it down so you have a clean finish like that. And that's how I'm going to do it today, just because I feel like that's the way they have you do it, and you might want that help, and it is a really clean way. But there is easier ways to do this. Hi, Louise. Nice to see you. So like I said, yeah, you can finish this edge. You can even put the elastic in there. It's sewn in a circle like your waistband, right? It's going to be awkward because the elastic is going to scrunch all this up. And then you can sew this right sides together to the waistband. So you can do that. You can even, on this poplin, you wouldn't even need to finish the edge. It does not unravel. Like a little bit, but it's not a big deal. And you could top stitch it down if you wanted, but I really don't think you have to. Or pink this, like with pinking shears or a pinking rotary knife, or serge it. Now, if you do the serging, just make sure your elastic stays away from this edge while you do it. So, but I'll do it the way they have you do it. And I'm going to do it my way of doing that, where I'm going to sew it from the inside to the outside, like I always do. So let's turn these right side out. Or, yeah, right side out. You'll want to make sure you have the center between these seams right here marked. So make sure you mark the center. And then we're going to sew this right side to wrong side. And I'm going to start the center back. Where's the center back? I thought I just had it. Is the center back? Yeah, here we go. Let's line up your center. Just like that. And then sew it with your seam allowance. Make sure your side seams match. I don't even need to pin this on. It should match all just fine. So you don't have to worry about it. Remember your center notch right there goes to the notch that the fly goes to right there. That's your center front. See, so if all your seam allowances worked out, then you shouldn't have any trouble getting this on there. Hi Angela, how's it going? I'm well. How about you? That was my start, but I decided that I remembered I did a 1/2 inch seam allowance when I cut off my waistband, so I'm just gonna, I started sewing it with a 5/8 inch seam, so I'm just gonna trim off or get rid of that. I can always turn under more, but I can't reclaim some of it. And when you go to put in your elastic, you definitely want to make sure you're got room, you know. I don't think so. I mean, we put in the fake fly, which took like a second because it's really easy to do. Now we're doing the waistband, and then we're going to be doing the cuffs, and then it's done. So, all right. So now I'm going to put in. So now you don't have to put in your elastic right now. Let's not do that. It's harder to do that. So I think pressing this up would be a good idea, and then pressing it down like that. So let's do that. See, there's those needle holes I was talking about. Can you see those? And that side, it looks like they're recoverable, but they're this one, this fabric, they might be able to hide it. On the knit print, we couldn't because there's too much ink. You would see a little bit of the white of the backing. All right, so just press this up. Do they tell you to do this from the inside first? I can't remember. I find that this is just easy. You don't have to worry about catching the inside because you've already sewn it. All right, so now let's turn them the other way. And now this is when you want to be careful. So make sure that when you go to iron this in half, that you're lining up that notch. So it would be easy to think, oh, I'd line up this notch to the seam, but just in case your notch got a little off of the seam, line it up to the notch. Line it up to wherever the notch was on the other side, because then you won't get the torquing. Let's just fold it under. I'm going to get my elastic and make sure. I think that's a little generous, so I'm going to try and make it a little tighter. Yeah, I know, right? I think I picked it because it looked kind of fallish, but now it looks kind of summery to me. Yeah, see, that'll be good. There's a little room in there. Here's my elastic. That's okay because I need to top stitch there, so that'll take up some of that. And I actually want to top stitch the edge at the top, so there's still room for my elastic to get in there. I just need to make sure. When it's really tight, it's such a pain, you know. So just fold that just past. If you want, just fold it first and iron it, and then do the other fold afterwards. So now see, this one, See how my seam doesn't line up to that seam right there? Line it up to the seam on here, not to that. That's when you get the torquing, you know? Okay, so we have this one here and this one here. So now let's get between them. I try and do it in anchor points, right? And you can pin it as well. Let's just do that. Get nice and flat. I'm gonna find my next anchor point here, which is the center front. Find my notch, and there's my notch right there. And then meanwhile, you can be, you know, pinning it down maybe the middle just to kind of keep it stabilized. All right, where's our next anchor point? Is the side seam right here. So line up my seam just like that. And I'm getting it nice and flat. I'm kind of pulling it. Now if this dips way low like that, you need to make sure you correct that. Use a ruler. Oh, I do have this other tip. I can't do it with the rulers I have now, but you can do this with a lot of rulers. I'll show you in just a second. You probably know it. You guys are all smart. So if you have a ruler that you can iron, the other thing you can do is stick your ruler in here like this. Find out where you want this edge to go on the ruler, and then you just do that all the way around. I can't do it. My ruler's not good enough for that. It'll get all wibbly wobbly. All right, so now I'm going to fold under my edge just past that original stitch line, just past it. And make sure you don't pull this to come to the front. Right there. Just do a little bit. Just do a little bit and then go to your next anchor point. I need more room. Can I do this a little bit? Yeah. Do this one right here. So I make sure this is staying flat and I just iron it just past, just like that. And I go over here. And now I make them meet. Poplin is really easy to work with. So if you're using something like a linen, you're gonna be fussing a little bit more, but ooh, you're gonna have a nice pair of jammies. That. You can already see how easy this will be to sew, right? And you guys, I mean, I actually probably wouldn't have ironed this first before. Because I had my notches, I would have just trusted in that. As long as I felt like, for the most part, I had been sewing this pretty accurately and nothing kind of got awry, because, you know, sometimes things just kind of go weird, or you decide to change something fit-wise and you're like, oof, now I need to kind of take care on those little areas. But because this is going pretty good and pretty straightforward, I probably could have gotten away without ironing this at all, and just trusting my anchor points and making sure that when I turned this under and stitched it down, I just made sure my anchor points were okay, and I probably would have like pinned the 4 anchor points and then sewed in between. And, you know, fiddlier fabrics, I probably would do this, you know, like the linen, or, I mean, maybe rayon. Some of those fiddlier fabrics, though, are also more flexible, so. Walter! Right, Angela? I know what you mean. I find like when I start watching someone iron, it's very ASMR. Okay, so let's stitch that down now. And we're on the right side of outside of our garment. So we know, oh, you know what I forgot? Megan, where are you? I forgot my label. If you're gonna put your label in, you should have done it already. Just gonna pop a few stitches and stick that in there. There we go. Finally forgot it. Okay, let's see. I don't want to cut my head off. Pull it down a little bit. There we go. All right, now we can start. So I'm gonna leave an opening to put my elastic through. I'm pretty sure that's how they have you do it. Angela, right? I find the noise like this is really loud, and when I watch videos of me sewing, that really annoys me. And so I'm glad that you guys don't think that it's annoying, because it does annoy me. So here's my center back. I'm about to start sewing here and go around the waist, and so when I come back up to it, I'm gonna make sure I stop. So I'm gonna put a little pin right there so I remember. I'm just gonna leave like 4 inches. So yeah, right, Angela? Hello, Like to Sew. How's it going? What a good username. I like to sew too. All right, so here we are. Now remember, we've ironed it and found our little anchor points and stuff. So I'm feeling pretty good. Look at this. I'm pulling this. There's no torquing, so I'm just gonna go for it. The only thing I need to watch is that it can shift because of the the feed dogs are pulling and the presser foot is pushing. So. And the way I kind of prevent that is I kind of pull back here. I don't pull, I just give it some stability. Just edge stitch along that edge. I'm a little high up. I'm a little high up, which means I may fall off the inside waistband. But all that prep, man, makes it pretty easy. This really is the spoon follower poplin, making it so easy to sew. Anything that's like a poplin that's tightly woven. All right, so there is my opening right there. And now I need to put my elastic in there. Oh, this is why I don't do this, because I don't have a safety pin. Do I have a safety pin? Shoot. I have a paper clip. Let's see here. This is why I always do it that way. Do I have a safety pin anywhere? What sewist doesn't have a safety pin? This one. I have to think about that. Where do I have one? You guys, I don't have one. Oh, I found a tiny one. Note to self, get safety pins. Can I use a paper clip? Does that work, you guys? I always use my loop turner. And I would have just, if I were doing this, I would have just hemmed that over the elastic. Can I do this? I'm going to try. Tell me quick. That can work, right? Now I just push it through? Well, we'll see. All right. So here's my inside my waistband, just full disclosure. So it looks like I got in the ditch for most of it. Or a little off right there, see? But it doesn't matter because no one's going to see that. It just looks good on the outside, which is nice. So I can tack the paper clip on. Oh, okay. I just poked it through. That's okay, right? All right, so now we're going to poke it through. So since we are sewing our waistband, oh wait, I want to edge stitch the top. Yeah, I'm going to edge stitch the top right here. I really like the effect it gives on the waistband. So I'm just going to stitch along, making sure I'm leaving a 1-inch wide space for the elastic. This, I feel like, keeps your waistband edge crisp, and it may prevent a little bit of rolling that you might get. But I'm going to do something else for that as well. Okay. So I just edge stitched it, and now let's try my paper clip. So it's a good thing I did stitch down my side seam since I decided to go with inserting the elastic this way. Oh boy. Just fast forward now, people. Try not to twist your elastic. See, like I went right past that side seam because I stitched it down. This is working. I've had trouble with, why it already feels twisted. Wow. I've had trouble with safety pins coming undone in there, you know? You know, Angela, it depends on where it's sitting. I ended up copying the elastic that on my other jammy bottoms that I've already made like this. So I find that, yeah, your elastic should be pretty relaxed on your waist when it's at rest. It just needs to stretch to get over your hips. If it's really tight, then it'll make your pants ride up to the smallest part on your body. So what I would do is figure out where they're going to sit on you. And then I would find the elastic measurement there. And just know also that when you put it into this waistband, it's going to get stretched out a little bit. I'm trying to keep this from twisting because the paper clip wants to twist. And now when you're doing this, I know that my elastic doesn't, it's not very, like these are pretty relaxed on me. So if you have a lot of gathers, like you're doing something else that has a lot of gathers, this is getting twisted. If you're doing something with a lot of gathers, start keeping an eye on this tail getting sucked into the waistband, because then, you know, you lose it. Yeah, Beverly, right. Yeah, so I would find kind of where that rise is at, Angela. And then you can even wait till you get to this point, try on the pants, see where they're going to sit on you. And then you'll kind of know where to measure the elastic. And then what I like, the rule of thumb usually is -2 inches. And I do -2 inches, and that includes that you, how do I word this? You're going to overlap the waistband and lose some of it. So subtracting 2 inches accounts for that as well. But you could, if you want to be like more loose, you could do like 1.5. I'm getting there. At least I do feel like it's not a safety pin that's going to open and poke the heck out of me. That's kind of nice. This isn't the greatest elastic to use for a waistband. I love braided elastic for everything. It's more stable. The elasticity is also more consistent. It looks nicer. It stays flat, but it does tend to, like, when I pull it inside the waistband, it can do this a little bit. Cup like that. Yeah, right, Beverly? Yeah, what I'm finding is I just don't want it to twist. I can feel it in there. So if this gets, like, say your tail is right here, just pin it, you know, pin the edge to the waistband. That way you can just make sure. I've had more than one get sucked in there, especially in my thinner days. Or I had like a really full skirt. Okay, almost there. Okay, so I want to make sure that I get all of that elastic in there. This is why I just do it over the elastic. I hate doing this. You know? I really don't like doing this kind of... It's so fussy. Wait, what did I just lose? Oh, I just lost my end. I'm going to actually make sure, so I can see it cupping in there. So let's get more of this in there, like that. All right, that's good. Now we have the whole thing in there. Because once I sew it to itself, I can really flatten it out. And now I know it's flat too. That was actually a good thing. All right, so keep that nice and flat. And then I'm going to lay it on top like this, and I'm going to double check it. You just kind of do this little bungee thing, and then it kind of ooches around your waistband. You see I have this big flat spot right there? So I'm just making sure none of it's twisted. Now I'm going to sew these ends together, and then I can really hoik on it and get it distributed. You always wonder how to sew those sheared elastic and things on clothes. Oh, I mean, one thing I like is stitching down the middle of your elastic, or like 2 channels. Wait, I like to just do 2 vertical things. I don't know why I was about to do that. I was all of a sudden thinking of it as webbing. So I always do 2 like this. I keep it nice and flat like that. And it's very stable. Now let's distribute it. I'm just doing this. And that's pretty good now. See that? And see now that, look at that nice little edge the stitching does. So now we just need to finish that. I don't care where that end goes. So just don't catch your elastic, and don't let the elastic push your presser foot off, and you might find it drags a little. It does for me sometimes. Something about sewing on elastic sometimes does that. It's really annoying, you know? Okay, so let's get rid of these threads here. And now make sure everything is feeling pretty good. Those look really good. So now go around to all of the, let's see, look how narrow it is right there. I got it a little too narrow. That's a bummer. You see that? A little too narrow right there. I probably folded a little too much right there. Everywhere else looks okay. So now what I do is at the center front, center back, and sides, I stitch straight through in the ditch on the seam, just to ensure that my elastic doesn't twist, because that's a pet peeve for me. So For the front and the back, you don't have a seam on the waistband, but you're really not going to notice this when you're wearing it, and they're pajamas. Even on other elastic things, I just stretch it apart like this. Make sure that your elastic is evenly distributed, though. I stretch it apart, and I just sew it down. And usually what happens over time is the gathers just kind of cover up that stitching. Of course, I got a messy start-stop. Get rid of the threads. The center back has my overlap where the elastic is, so it may never really get much gathers right there. Even though I did it the flattest way possible. And now I do it right in the ditch of that seam right there of the waistband. Pull it apart. I sometimes get done and I'm like, oh, I'm done sewing this. And then I'm like, you know, I'll just see if the elastic's gonna roll and then I'll fix it later. Just do it from the beginning if you have any doubts. This is the side that's a little narrow for my elastic. There we go. It's not knit like to sew, but I am doing the top in the same print in a knit because I ordered it on Spoonflower and you can do that, you know? So it was just kind of a fun way to illustrate that you can do that. And I have it right here. It looks identical. It's pretty cool. So here's the knit. This one I felt like when I had it printed was a little more obvious that this is different than that. But you guys can't even see it, right? This is a knit though. It's the organic cotton. This one right here is a knit, and then my pants are over there somewhere. So yeah, this is what I'm doing Saturday. I'll be sewing the top and I'll do the binding, but it'll be short sleeves. I have it sitting here so I can remember how to sew it. Yeah, that'll be fine. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, like smocking. Yeah. So that is one thing you can do on here if you want to, like say your elastic is pretty stretchy. Some of those non-roll elastics, I don't find them to be very stretchy. So I would do a test of this because you might stretch your elastic out. But one thing you can do is stitch down the middle of your casing. Just hold it open and stitch, you know, maybe 2 rows. And then that really stabilizes your waistband. It looks fantastic. And you can definitely get that kind of professional look if you want. So. Yeah, the elastic thread on a home machine. I'm getting hot. It's so warm. It's supposed to be 96 here today, you guys. All right, let's do our cuffs. Welcome to California. All right, so you know me, I always try and keep my cuffs straight. So I have, this is my back. That's my back. This is my front. Where's the notch? There's the notch. There. And there. All right. So I'm going to sew these right sides together. What the heck? Just had a total brain fade there. My cuffs may look a little different than the pattern because I did it on the fly before the stream. I changed these pants into shorts because I cut these out last November. You know, it's my UFO list, so. Wow, Sydney, 80s? When does that happen there besides September? Wow. Oh, really, Walter? Yeah, this is pretty vivid. You can definitely tell some designers are a little better about testing their fabrics and using the Spoonflower color chart. And I've actually contacted certain ones and said, you know, I really love this print, but if you ordered the same print on a different base, it doesn't, well, it's not that. That's not what I want to say. It's when they have more than one of the print and they have it like a large version and a small version, and you go to print it and one of the blues is different, you know, or something. And I just let them know, and a lot of them are like, oh, I didn't know that, you know, or the repeat's not right. Oh, yeah. It's use flat, not stretchy elastic. Yeah, Barbara, isn't that you buy it in a package and it has the elastic, sorry, my foot's on the pedal. You pull up those threads in it. I've never used that. All right, so here's my cuff. And I already did this one, and this is the, here we go. I'm looking for my notches. I put notches towards the inseam. I know that those are my inseam, and this is the back. I'm just gonna trim this down. This big honkin' seam allowance. You can tell I didn't cut these very, you can tell I cut these 5 minutes before the stream, can't you? Did you like that elastic, Barbara? Did you like how that it worked in that garment, and did you want to do it again? I mean, that's the key, right? If you really liked it. All right, so I'm gonna do the same method I do. I'm gonna put my this stuff on. I think these shorts are gonna be kind of long and kind of nerdy. You're welcome, like so. Or you didn't even say thanks. Thanks for coming. I'm all presuming. Okay, get rid of some of these threads here. That's my front and that's my back. I'm gonna put my, let's start this here. And I'm just gonna sew this on and then seam it when I get to the end there. Push my side seams to the back. I was really struggling for binding. I remember this. I'm just gonna go like this. I'm gonna pinch them together. Like that. Like that. I think it's nicer to do this at an angle. You'll get less of a bump. And if you want to do that, then you're going to put these, well, you could just, wait, I didn't give myself enough of a tail to do that, but I'll show you on the other one. There we go, and then we'll open it up, press it. See, back stitches, I feel the thickness of it. There we go. Yeah, okay. Mom's cut. Yeah, right, Megan? You know, Megan, I actually figured out the length of these by how I want them to be when I sit. Because you know how, like, oh, these are the perfect length. And then you sit down, you're like, oh, these are not the perfect length anymore. I didn't want that to happen. All right, same thing. The heck? Oh, I was gonna say, why is there a trunk out a lot? This is the back. Yeah, so yeah, I'm sewing on the front. These are surprisingly fast to sew, don't you guys think? I mean, the only thing, that I did differently is make them into shorts. The free range Beverly, because that wide elastic waistband, it feels flatter on the body, whereas these are puffy at the belly. You know what I mean? So like they poof right here. But I actually like the Carolyn because of this flat waistband makes it poof a little less. But I wear those free ranges around the house a lot. I think the only thing I would do next time, I've made 3 pairs of those, is make them straight down, straight leg, and because mine are all cropped. So it's just a style thing. But I will admit that I get home and if, like, I always have like a set of jammies that I'm wearing for a few days in a row before I wash them. And most of mine are Carolyn pajama bottoms now because I have a flannel pair, which are kind of heavy. I have a floral pair and the moth pair. The only drawback is that they look like pajamas. But if it's after a certain time of day, I put those straight on. During the weekends, though, I wear the free range slacks because I can't really wear these all day. And I feel like those, you could go to the grocery store in those. You know what I mean, Beverly? So if you're wanting that kind of, because they don't look like lounge pants. They're classier than that. Finding 2-inch elastic is hard because all I could find locally was the soft stuff that's supposed to be exposed and on the outside of the garment, and I find that the stretch on that is so soft and relaxed. I want something that feels a little more rigid so that if I step on the hem of my pants, I don't accidentally pants myself when I'm standing up, you know, or my dog standing on my hem if I'm crouched down and my pants me. That's how soft that elastic is. So then I also have made them where I didn't have the 2-inch and I used 2 channels. And here is my tip. And you guys saw me do this live on camera. I think I did a 3/4 inch at the top and 1 1/4 inches at the bottom. And if you do that, swap it. Put the wider one at the top and the smaller one at the bottom because the smaller one is narrower. It's the point of weakness for when the waistband folds over on itself at that channel where the 2 are separated, right? So the thing you could also do to prevent that probably is to stitch through the elastic on both, and then it would make it feel more like one unit. So that's my only thing about those is finding that 2-inch elastic. Are you laughing at me being pantsed, Walter? It's a struggle, man. It's a struggle. All right, let's see if I gave myself enough here. So I'm gonna try and put these, hopefully, if I put these like this, right? If I do that, let me see if I did that right. So right now I'm just putting these so that the right sides are together. I mean, they're stacked on top of each other, both of them right side up. I'm just gonna cut at a 45 degree angle. Hopefully I did this correct. And then now, yeah, they're the opposite from each other. And so when I go to sew them, it'll be a less bulky. Oh, but I didn't figure out like the length of it. That's hilarious. But that's how you would do the angle. All right, so let's see. Let's take one out. The way I said it. I don't know. I feel like that's or you know, like if you're a mom or even a dad, if you have small kids around and they are pulling on your pants. I've definitely been pantsed when I'm wearing my jammies by my kid, you know. I didn't have free range slacks then, so it wasn't those. You're sitting there in public holding your pants, you know? I'm like, dude. Okay. So I have this one here and this one here. Like this, like this. And I'm just going to nip it like this and go parallel to that so that I have the right length now. All right, now I think I'm back in business here. All right, so then you open this up. And that'll be a little less bulk because see the seams are what is it? Off kilter from each other. Is that what I'm looking for? There we go. All right, let's do our thingy now. Right, Megan? Exactly. Kids, man. Okay, so I'm going to sew this from the inside like I always do to the outside. Let's turn these inside out. So now the easy way to do this, I would totally do this, is to take your cuff, fold it up like this. Sew it on, matching all of your seams, right? So that you sew that up, press it down, and then top stitch it. And just make sure you finish that edge. That'd be the easiest thing to do. But if we're going to do it clean finish style because, you know, we like to do it the hard way. No, I'm just teasing. I'd open up these seams on your cuff, put it on the inside there. I don't have a free arm on my machine, so that's why I do it this way, sewing from the inside. Now you know why I sewed that kind of far away, but I do kind of want to pay attention to where that edge of my binding is, and it's right here. It's way up there, so let's see, even if I do a 5/8 inch seam, I'll still have a little bit. I'm going to do like a fat 1/2 inch. Fat 1/2 inch. Oh no, Barbara. I have seen that happen before. Yeah, like some natural fiber fabrics, knits aren't really great for swimsuit. There's a reason some swimsuits are the fabric they are, you know? Now, because I've already stitched that binding on there, it's a little bit more constrained, so you got to make sure you can still fit your cuff on there. Oh boy, that's triggering me. There we go. I don't think I did a very good job keeping my seam allowance. So let's look at it. Because I can see my seam line on this side. That's quite a bit showing. I'm going to do a little more. I don't want much of that showing. The easy thing to do would be do it from this side. Let me put my other cuff on, then we'll do it again from the other side. Right, Barbara? What'd you do? Did you just not go in the water? And because you found out pretty quick and you were like, uh-oh. Wardrobe malfunction. This is the back. This is the back. Put my cuff in there. Line up the seams. Your poor mom must have felt terrible too. She's like, I spent so much time on that. Fine. fine. We'll go buy a regular swimsuit. So I'm doing this from the inside of the pant. So I have the cuff right side to it. We're almost done with these. Now I'm just going to look at this. So that's my stitch line right there. Would be potentially my last stitch line. Like that'll be the width of it. I would like this to be a little narrower, this trim. So I'm going to do a little bit bigger. It's supposed to have 5/8 inch seam. I was just nervous. Really what I want is a parallel edge, parallel like seam to that fold edge. Let's do this one. And now we're just going to iron them and then stitch it and they're done. Like I started off good. I can see where I backtagged. I started off good, and then I got narrow, or like my seam allowance got smaller. I can tell. I haven't. Oh, I have washed that, and I didn't check, Beverly. That's awesome, Barbara. Let's trim this up a little bit here. And then we can, that's where remember my side seam was a little bit off from one to the other. That's what that is. All right, let's iron these up and then stitch them down. So Walter, it sounds like you got like a lot of fabrics. You got some plans. That's pretty cool. I hope my spoonflower order arrives really soon. I have a couple weeks actually. I bet it will. It'll be fine. My secret project I'm doing. Oh gosh, I was looking at chat. I need to move this. I almost dropped my iron. There you go. I have definitely dropped my iron. Not this one, but my old one. It got dropped a few times. Not proud of it. Definitely was an accident. Sometimes it's as simple as tripping over the cord, you know. Just ironing this open. Yeah, I've had definitely trouble with that yellow Choco, and I don't know if it's just the yellow. I've just used the yellow for so long. I have some white, but the I don't find that as like usable for most of the things I sew. And I think I only have one Choco now. I used to have two. I had the old school and I have the pin style, the one you see me use, and I think the old one actually isn't working anymore, or they both ended up with yellow in it by accident. So, you know. I'll let you enjoy the ironing and the sounds of traffic. You got 4 fat quarters, one of the Galaxy. Ooh. Yeah, the Choco is the pencil. It's like a, no, it's like a, I have mine by the machine. I'll show you. I love that thing. I think it is the niftiest way to draw on lines because it's got this little cog wheel in it that the chalk comes out along. And so it's like a very precise line. Whereas pencils, the lead is usually broken inside. They don't stay sharp. I just find them to be really not that great, you know? So I'll show you. Oh, the white's supposed to be better? Okay. Oh, you have the pink. And does it come out? Oh, really, Cindy? That's funny. Yeah, I have my door open. Sometimes I take a risk and keep my door open. All right, so let's line this up here. Kind of do that. It prevents some of the torquing. You can see my little cuff in there. It's a little wider on that side, narrower that side. Let's see. Ooh, that's a little too close. We'll need to fix that. See, this is why did I do that? Why did I stitch that? That was dumb. That was actually plain dumb. Now, I should have just left my original stitch line. I'm gonna have to take that out. What the heck was I thinking? I knew that when I put it in there. I'm like, yeah, you want that far away, and then I forgot. Wow. I'm just gonna fold the whole thing and then press it. There's a little bit of a curve, not curve, but there was a little bit of an angle at the side seam. So that'll make it feel like it's torquing, but you just need to walk it around. Let's just start ironing a little bit. You need project bags for all your knitting? Nice. Why did I do that? You know what it was is my finished result brain kind of took over there, and I was like, that's not how I want it to look finished, and I stitched it where I wanted it to finish. What's going on here? You know what? I'm gonna chew. I'm gonna fold up this edge. It's gonna drive me nuts. I'm gonna fold up this edge. And I'm gonna fold it over. Because that's what's happening right there. The cuff isn't straight right here. It's at an angle. Like that. There we go. That's what it needed. Now, let me get my pins. Oof, I almost dropped all those. That stitching is so embarrassing. I'm looking at where my seam is. I mean, I obviously want it to match up with that side seam, but I won't get torque if I put it right on top of itself. All right, there we go. Way better. Get rid. I'm just pinning it down here so I have room to take out that stitching. The heck. This cuff's kind of making me mad. Let's go to this one now. All right, let's iron up this edge. We learned, right? We want to iron up this little edge here because of that little angle. And this edge right here, we haven't sewn anything on. This one's been sewn 4 times now. So this one's gonna be a little bit tighter and smaller. Oh, you played Yarn Chicken and lost sewing on buttons. Like you played, like you didn't have enough buttons? Right, Barbara, exactly. That's awesome. You just bound off your sweater. Congrats. Big deal. That's a big deal. I love making sweaters late in the season. I mean, like, I'm sad in some ways I don't get to wear it as much because it'll get hot. But I love that it's like brand new when I hit the, you know, fall again. It's like, you know, buying sale clothes in the wrong season. And then when you get to when you get back to that season, you're like, oh, I have all these clothes I bought. Haven't done that in like 20 years, but I remember it. Especially for my kiddo, you know. There we go. See, look at that. That's much nicer. I might be able to get away with not removing the stitching on this one. I still can't believe I stitched that. All right. That's enough. That's enough. So I got my new glasses. I love them so much, but I didn't get bifocals because I feel like bifocals have been hurting my neck because I do this a lot, and I can't wear them on stream. I absolutely have to have bifocals to stream with so I can read the chat and thread the needle. I was so bummed. I was so excited. They look so cute. I mean, they're not going to look any different to you, but such a bummer. I'm just going to have to get some bifocals. All right, is this the one I just did? Wait, is this one warm? Nice, Walter. All right. Is this the one I thought I didn't have to remove? I feel like this is the one I do have to remove. This is so annoying. Try and get away with it as little as possible. Why did I do that? So weird. That's probably okay. This probably is not. I want to cover that up. This right here might not be okay. I don't think I'd take out much on the other one. Are you looking for a great cardigan pattern to knit or sew? Megan. All right, let's stitch that down now. Start on the inseam so your back stitch can be hidden there. I'm gonna pull that up a little bit higher, cover that up. Yeah, I ended up doing the Warby Parker thing because my eyeglass place was closed. The day after I got my glasses in the mail, they opened up. So I think I'm just gonna go to them and say, can you make this pair bifocal? You know? I thought so. You could put a gusset in Beverly. You know? Yeah, you wouldn't. I wouldn't sleep in these. I would just use them like, you know, before bed. But you could put a gusset in and just maybe extend the rise on the front and the back. Yeah, gussets can be a little tricky in that. Remember, they have to sew to each other, and there's like 4 points there. Yeah. Trying to cover up that dumb stitching I did. And trying not to get any torquing, so I'm pulling from the back. That always helps me. Ooh, I might end up doing it. Can I cover this up a little bit? See how smooth that poplin is? I can barely grab it with my awl. There we go. Alright, so there's one cuff. And I sewed it on the right side last, so here's the inside. I don't want you guys to think I'm covering something up. It actually looks really good on the inside. Look how good that looks. Wow. Kind of surprised. There's no pins in that, right? Okay. Let's do this one. Last seam. Knitting is good for the brain too. But you can, there's lots of sewing cardigans. Oof, maybe this is the side I was supposed to pull thread stitches out of. I hope not. Look how close I got that. Jeez Louise. Look at all those back stitches. Why did I back stitch that? Was it going somewhere? Nope. Get all these threads. All right, how's the rest? That's okay. That'll be okay. All right, I think that's enough. Good. All right. This was the easier side. It's just that beginning spot was kind of weird. Ooh, that was a little folded up high. Remember how I said This edge has been stitched down so much. You can really tell when you go to do this sometimes. I mean, one thing you could do is stitch this piping to your cuff edge and then stitch it down. That actually sounds kind of a fun way to sew it. You might be swapping for a different issue, but it would get rid of this issue. You know? You actually could. You could sew the cuff on to this, right, like I did, and then put the trim to this edge, and then both edges would have had stitching on it, and so maybe it would behave better. I love those kinds of experiments. You can see, look at how much I have here. And this is matching up right on the seam, right there. So basically, I need to get this between these two points right here. We'll fold it under a little bit more. That. Let's look at this. I'm cutting it close. There's all that stitching. Oof. Get in there, get in there, get in there. Just pressing it, the little edge down, just straight down instead of like pulling it over. Just like mash it. Whew. Little touch and go there. That looks good on the inside. And then I'm going to need to probably re-iron that fold edge right there. Yeah, it's true, Angela. Yeah, I totally agree. I like keeping my hands busy, and so for me, if I'm watching TV or a movie, knitting is really great for that, and I do miss doing it for that. I really, like, I started looking for like a hand sewing project, you know. I don't really watch much TV, but still. Okay, these are my shorts. These are really cute. The fabric colors on the screen look a little Scandinavian, but in real life they're more autumnal. They have a warmer rather than a cooler tone about them, and there's like a cream background, but really cute. I'm excited to have these actually. They look really good, and then the shirt will be great on Saturday to go with them. And I can, I'm going to see if I can't remember if there's enough room to make it a little longer. And I might make the hem less structured, you know? So, yeah, they really did. I like them. So if you follow their pattern and cut them out, you might have like a shorter and more straight, boxier cut, a more traditional cut for a short. I used my pants and shortened them, so there's probably a little too tapered for most people's taste for shorts, but this will work great for me around the house and stuff, you know. I think this is great. I think it's nice to have jammies you can be in public with. Oh, I have a little bit of torquing right there. Maybe once I iron it, it'll be fine. That stitching really fouled me up. Cool. Well, thanks, you guys. Thanks for coming. See if you can see the whole pair there. Kind of fit on the table. Not really. Yeah, these are pretty good. Got the fake fly. They have hand pockets, you know, for putting, you know, your treat in there. Or you walk upstairs, your phone, your glasses, and then your glass of water, bowl of ice cream. Yeah, Eva, I know, right? Yeah, I probably will on Saturday, Sydney, when I have the shirt done. Definitely. Is it shaking? What's shaking, Louise? Is it freaking out? Let me see. I don't see it. Oof. Maybe when I touched the camera. Oh well, sorry about that. All right, maybe it's the print. Sometimes it does do weird things. We've had that happen before. So, all right, you guys. Well, I'll see you Saturday, and we'll sew the top. I'm excited. I'm very excited to have a new set of pajamas that are for summer. I need some tank tops too, so we might do some of that. Maybe all of August could be like a lounge wear base layer. Almost like a cable was loose. I wonder if it was this camera. It looked okay on my screen. That's funny. I'm gonna jiggle it and just see. I'm moving the camera when I do this, like I'm touching it. And then it vibrates afterward. I see that. I want to see if it does anything on your screen now. Yeah, like that I'm moving right there. Okay. I was making it higher up. All right, guys. Yeah, hasta Saturday. Yeah, and hope you're getting it through. Yeah, August we're talking about doing like a bra August, like participating in that and sewing things like that, like undergarments, Louise. That's our plan. Because I really want to do that. I was really inspired by Christy to do that. So I hope you guys are getting through your unfinished object pile this week, and even just one of them, you know, because I know how that is. It kind of wears on us. So, all right, you guys, I will see you on Saturday, day before Mother's Day. So have a great rest of your week, and yeah, I'll see you then.